two new positive cases that we are reporting today are both linked to the Holiday Inn at Melbourne Airport, bringing the total number of linked cases in that cluster to 16.
While almost 6.5 million Victorians are hoping that their third lockdown will be mercifully short, today 4 new venues across Melbourne's north were added to the list of exposure sites.
And it also is critically important as we list exposure sites to get people tested and clear those exposure sites. We can process some 30,000 tests a day and provide more than 80% of those results back within 24 hours.
There was also an admission that one quarantine worker was given the all clear when they were actually a transmission risk.
There was a negative test result that she returned as part of her normal workplace testing on the 7th. That has since been reviewed. That test is now a week positive.
Meanwhile, north of the border, New South Wales has recorded its 28th consecutive day without a locally acquired case of COVID-19, the longest period with 0 cases since the beginning of the pandemic. New South Wales's excellent results come despite it having taken almost 100,000 more people through hotel quarantine than Victoria. But Premier Andrews has copped heat for suggesting international arrivals need to be slashed from thousands to hundreds each week.
With this UK strain, and we haven't even got on to South Africa yet, because it's just as bad. Should we be having the total number of people coming home? Or should it be a much smaller program that's based on compassionate grounds?
But the government says we can't turn our backs.
Mums and dads coming home to see their sons and daughters, families that have been separated, people coming home to say goodbye to loved ones. Bringing those people home is a task for all of us. It's something we work on together.
There have been breaches in almost every quarantine system in Australia. So as these new variants become increasingly common, is there any way to make hotel quarantine 100% safe?
Well, Professor Alex Huffman from the University of Denver is an aerosol scientist and has turned his focus to the airborne transmission of COVID-19, and he joins us now. Professor Alex, with these new, more transmissible strains, in your opinion, is hotel quarantine still a viable option?
I do think that hotel quarantine can be a viable option as long as the people that are running the hotels and setting up the hotels take the airborne mode of transmission really seriously. That hasn't been taken as seriously as I think it should be. That really means upgrading masks and upgrading the filtration, both in-room and portable units. And from a mask perspective, it really means upgrading from just surgical masks that let the aerosols leak out the sides and upgrading to much better fitting masks with higher filtration. And if you put all those things into place, I think that you can make a hotel quarantine setup that reduces the spread from room to room and also to the staff.
But what about the hotels themselves? A lot of the ones that are being used here in Australia are budget-friendly, is probably a good way of putting it. They've got tight corridors, they've got limited ventilation systems. Is that going to be the sort of room that's going to be up to the job?
Well, anytime you say the words limited ventilation, then that's a big red flag for me. That worries me quite a bit, because that means that there could potentially be quite a bit of buildup of aerosol, infectious aerosol in the room, and there are all sorts of ways that that air can leak out from one room into another and also into the hallway. And so if the ventilation is already poor, then that's just going to make the situation worse. Of course, I could probably get some money from the people that are staying in these places if they wanted me to say that we could only stay in 5-star hotels. I think that might help a little bit, because there's probably better ventilation set up and the corridors are a little wider and such. So I think better ventilation is a really important place to start, no matter where you are.
Hey, Professor, I'm not a smart man, but some of the rules that I see, even I think are dumb. I was in the bay the other day and I saw a woman stand up paddleboarding by herself and she was wearing a mask. She's an idiot, isn't she?
There is no reason that you stand up paddleboarding in the middle of nowhere will be giving the virus to anybody else unless a fish jumps up and you're worried about contracting some strain of COVID from them. But
now the fish have got COVID. Oh, God.
Exactly.
Tommy, what have you done?
We'll see.
Yeah, because it's not like it came from an animal in the first place. All right, Professor Alex Huffman, really appreciate your insight this evening.
Thank you.
From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.